Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to Kolber's Corner for another fortnight, another go around. This is another example of me doing doing my very best to recapitulate and reproduce content from the interview segments I've recorded for the podcast here. And this one comes to us from one of those. So, from Joanne Casey, in fact, which is the important concept that presenting is not teaching. This is the kind of thing that she said at one point during my discussion with her, and I've pondered for a long amount of time since, and I think it's incredibly true. So, and I think the best illustration of this as a Victorian teacher was during our lockdown period, when all of a sudden we're teaching online, and the majority of the teaching profession, frankly, were not very good at that, because it wasn't teaching, at least from me and Joanne's understanding of it. It's not teaching that you do in an online setting. You know, I can lead a Zoom discussion. I can take students through all sorts of content in a PD online. And what I'm doing there is I'm presenting. I'm basically standing and delivering, or in this case, sitting and delivering the content to people. And, you know, you might stop and you might read the chat, and you might, have a question and answer segment, or, any questions for any of that at the end of your PD. But by and large, what you're doing is presenting. And so I think my wife has just recently begun a new job at a setting where they deliver their learning online. And so I've had the experience of hearing a lot of presenting happening, from various parts of the house, so to speak. And so, yeah, it's just reminded me that I think, because teaching is such a human, and to me kind of primordial, essential, human thing that happens, that we all know the differences. You know, you're responding to the room. And, you might think, well, if you're presenting to a Zoom room and you can see people's faces and they're nodding or laughing, and I would say, at least to my interpretation, that's not the same. I'm sure we can all think of a time when we were in an online meeting and we laughed at something, as I did then. And you're thinking what I just said wasn't funny, but of course they're in their own space, in their own world. They see someone walk past or make a face, or their dog rolls over, or the cat falls out of the window seat, whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of distractions and things that mean that the connection really isn't the same. So, and I think for teachers like myself, I think developing the skill of presenting is something that has great value, but it's also something that, at least in my experience, has almost zero crossover between teaching and presenting. So, like, there would be days of a teaching week where, for me, in a classroom teaching, I don't like to talk. I don't like to overspeak, I guess, should be the way to say it. So my instructions to students would be very unlikely to run more than a couple of minutes. But, come the end of a teaching day, I very often would be presenting for hours and hours to teachers, or, people training to be teachers. And the skills are completely not the same. In the same way, presenting at a conference is not the same as talking into a Zoom that is part of an online conference. There we go. My brain got very tangled up in that one. Just a little reflection. I'd love to hear for people that regularly do both presenting and teaching. To you, are they the same, or can you see cracks starting to emerge between the sort of two unique elements? Because, yeah, I can certainly, reflecting back on my career as I was getting better at teaching, that's almost like a separate track or timeline to me getting better at presenting, which took place in different forums in different places. And I honestly don't think had much crossover with my teaching. Like, I can comfortably say I could talk for 2 hours on, my specialty subjects of teaching, pedagogy, social media, etc. But I would never apply that skill in a classroom of adolescents or teenagers who need to learn stuff. But maybe that's just my understanding of pedagogy and my approach. So if you disagree, by all means, seek me out and tell me how I've missed the mark. But just something that I've really been pondering, that I think has some merit. It might not be a completed thought, or anything that we could write to or publish, but there's definitely something there that there's, a significant difference between teaching and presenting. Both are good, both are important, but I would say that they're distinct. So until next time, keep reading, keep writing, keep learning.